can say is y'all have to listen to your boy, man. Y'all have to listen to your boy, dog. I literally reported this the night that it happened. And I said, man, Scott lied right here, man. Hold on. He lied that night about Caitlin Clark and the load management, man.
That reaction says everything. It's the response of someone who stood by his claim and later saw it proven right. On the night of the incident, he told his audience that a Fever reporter was not being honest with them. Many people criticized him for making that statement, but now that same reporter has lost his press credentials. So, what exactly did Scott Agness say that ultimately led to him losing access to the Indiana Fever?
Go ahead and drop it to this, man. I dropped this video on the 21st, so it was the day after, right? And I stated, Fever reporter lies about load management with Caitlin Clark, adding to bad transparency from Fever, right? Now, I want y'all to understand what happened. This is the tweet. It says, Fever guard Caitlin Clark will not play tonight versus Portland Fire. I'm told it's part of a strategic management plan for the season.
Here's the timeline. On May 20th, approximately 100 minutes before the Indiana Fever were set to face the Portland Fire, Scott Agness reported that Caitlin Clark would not play. He added that he had been told the decision was part of a strategic season management plan. Read that carefully. The phrase, "I'm told," carries significant weight because it suggests the information came from a source within the organization. And that specific framing is where the controversy begins.
The guy said, I'm told it's part of a strategic management plan for the season, right? This is what he said. Now, if you go into this article that's right here that he wrote up, he said, quick story. I wanted to point out one specific thing that he said in here. He stated that was, right here. I also wrote that it was part of a strategic management plan for Clark, who missed all but 13 games last season due to several injuries. That was not to insinuate load management, but rather emphasize the precautionary measure given what she experienced last season.
Then came the article. In his written report, Scott Agness clarified that the strategic management comment was never intended to suggest load management. Instead, he explained that it referred to a precautionary decision, considering that Caitlin Clark had missed all but 13 games the previous season because of multiple injuries. And that's the contradiction at the heart of this entire controversy. In the tweet, he presented it as information he had been told. In the article, however, he framed it as his own interpretation. Those are two very different forms of reporting, and fans quickly picked up on the discrepancy.
He did come out with an article explaining what happened, all right? He said, good afternoon. I wanted to share an important update regarding my coverage of the Indiana Fever. Indiana Fever Public Relations informed me via email that my credential access to all team events have been revoked. They said it was due to the spread of inaccurate and unsubstantiated information, and cited my tweet about Caitlin Clark being ruled out 100 minutes before they defeated the Portland Fire on May 20th. The tweet I just showed y'all, right? Fever PR briefly spoke with me before the game to ask about the tweet and state that they believed it was false. Okay, this right here lets me know that...
Now look at how the Indiana Fever responded. Scott Agness says the team's PR department informed him via email that his media credentials for all team events had been revoked. According to him, the reason given was the dissemination of inaccurate and unsubstantiated information, specifically referring to the Caitlin Clark tweet. He also acknowledged that a PR representative briefly spoke with him before the game and told him the organization believed the report was false. But here's the key detail. He says there was no additional meeting or discussion before the final decision was made. Reading between the lines, one thing becomes apparent: he never directly confirmed the strategic management claim with the organization before publishing it.
The organization that I stand by my reporting and the intent behind it. I mean, take some accountability. Say my bad, but that wasn't my intentions. That's what I would want him to say in his article, but it don't seem like he's heading down that road. Because many of you subscribe to Fieldhouse Files, specifically for Fever coverage, I believe it's important to be transparent about what happened. Honestly, Scott, you should have been transparent in the tweet, big dog. You should have been transparent.
And this is where a reporting dispute turns into a credibility issue. In his response, Scott Agness stated that he stands by both his reporting and the intent behind it. There was no apology and no suggestion that the message had been misunderstood, only a defense of his position. Then there's the business side of the story, which few people want to discuss openly. The article was published on Fever House Files, his subscription-based platform. Even though that particular piece was not behind a paywall, a headline-grabbing tweet that directs traffic to a subscription outlet naturally creates an incentive. That alone does not prove bad faith, but it helps explain why many readers felt the tweet was designed to generate a strong reaction first and provide clarification later.
Hey, come on, man. You didn't have to say that and then lead people into the article, man. Anyway, let's get what he's saying, what Clark said. The Fever took specific issue with the phrase strategic management plan. Yes, that's their right. However, it is consistent with what the team has been publicly emphasizing since last season, keeping the big picture in mind and taking a cautious approach. I get it. They were talking about managing Caitlin throughout last year, throughout this season so far, but they never made it seem like they were going to sit her out full games just to load manage or rest her. They never made it seem like that. That's what you made it seem like in that tweet.
But this story extends beyond a single reporter. Scott Agness himself pointed out that the very next day, the Indiana Fever reportedly received a warning from the WNBA regarding their injury reporting procedures, according to a league source. In the 3 games that followed, Caitlin Clark was listed on the injury report as probable. Consider what that sequence actually reveals. Clark went from not appearing on the injury report at all to being ruled out just 100 minutes before tip-off. That represents a genuine transparency issue, and responsibility for that falls on the Fever, not solely on the reporter. In a way, both sides can be criticized at the same time. The Fever's injury reporting process was inconsistent enough to attract a league warning, while Agness stepped into that information gap with a narrative he ultimately could not fully substantiate.
Beside what he said. Hey, look, man, I'm never for somebody losing their job or food being taken out of people's mouths. I'm never about that. But I knew that was a problem that night. I knew that was a problem, dog. And I had people telling me the organization told him that. He just dropped a bomb saying that the organization questioned him. So they couldn't have told him that, right? But look, man, all I'm saying is y'all have to be careful. All right? Be careful. I just showed in the last episode, the last video I dropped, you have some podcasts out here trying to rage bait us, dog. Trying to manipulate us. All right? They're trying to manipulate us, fam.
There's also a broader warning hidden within this story for everyone who follows the WNBA media landscape. The point being made is that the space is increasingly crowded with accounts willing to stretch the truth or use controversy to drive engagement. Some podcasts and social media accounts intentionally post provocative content, hoping people become upset enough to react and share it. And often, that strategy works. It creates noise that can pull even legitimate reporters into the conversation. The takeaway, then, is not simply that Scott Agness may have made a mistake. It's that in a league expanding this quickly around a superstar of Caitlin Clark's stature, the temptation to create a headline-grabbing moment is greater than ever. That's why audiences need to approach every story with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Guys, if I make a mistake, it's truly a mistake. And that's not to say Scott is a bad person. I don't know his intentions, but he did do a good job last year trying to get us the information and stuff like that. So I'm always willing to give people grace. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know why he did the tweet and then had it backpedaled in the article. I don't know why, but that was the biggest mistake, man. And he literally lost his credentials over it, man. So hopefully he can land on his feet somewhere else. But yeah, Scott, man, come on. Stay real with us, man. Stay real, big dog. Anyway, man.
So let's bring this full circle, because there are no clear-cut heroes in this story. Start with Scott Agness. For most of last season, he did the hard work and established himself as one of the most reliable sources covering the Indiana Fever. Many subscribers followed his coverage specifically because of that reputation. And that track record matters, which is exactly why this situation carries so much weight. One night, 2 words, and a credential revoked. The fundamental mistake was not reporting that Caitlin Clark would sit out. That information proved to be correct. The issue was the framing. The phrase, "I'm told it's part of a strategic management plan for the season," sounded as though a source had confirmed the Fever intended to rest a healthy Caitlin Clark across multiple games as part of a load management strategy. That's a significant claim. It's a headline. And when the organization pushed back, the explanation in the article shifted towards something less definitive, a precautionary decision based on the injuries that limited Clark to just 13 games the previous season. Reporting information and later reinterpreting it are not the same thing, and including the full context in the original tweet could have prevented much of this controversy. Then there's the question of accountability. The simplest path forward would have been to acknowledge the issue directly. "My intent was not to mislead. I should have worded the tweet with the same precision used in the article." Instead, the response focused on defending both the reporting and the intent behind it. When someone has lost credentials and is attempting to rebuild trust, refusing to concede even a small point can come across as doubling down rather than being transparent. That said, the Indiana Fever are not free from criticism either. A player going from completely absent on the injury report to being ruled out just 100 minutes before tip-off is exactly the kind of inconsistency that invites speculation. The WNBA appeared to share that concern, reportedly issuing the team a warning regarding its injury reporting procedures the following day. Had the organization communicated more clearly from the beginning, there may never have been an information gap for a strategic management plan narrative to fill. Revoking a reporter's credentials does not solve that underlying issue. It simply redirects attention toward the reporter, and when you step back, a larger pattern becomes visible. We are watching a league experience rapid growth around its biggest star, Caitlin Clark. With that growth comes an ecosystem where every unclear moment can quickly become a major story. Social media accounts thrive on controversy. Provocative posts generate engagement. Subscription-based outlets benefit from attention-driving headlines. The reporter, the team, and even the audience are all operating within that environment, and too often it rewards outrage more than accuracy. So here's the question worth considering. When both a beat reporter and the team he covers fall short on transparency during the same week, who bears greater responsibility? Is it the reporter whose framing created confusion, or the organization whose communication failures helped create that confusion in the first place? The Fever revoked one credential, but they also received a league warning. Which side do you think got it more wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want real-time analysis when stories like this break, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know how you viewed the situation.